Welcome to Taiwan Report News Brief, news and analysis from here in Taichung, Taiwan. I'm Donovan Smith. All right, up today in the program, the government is sending odd signals on foreign residents and stimulus vouchers. Carrefour is taking over Wellcome and Hsin's marketplace. The government suffers a big, embarrassing data leak, which could be very worrying. Chinese devices are leaky. A fairly high-profile KMT figure bolts to the TPP and has some very interesting things to say about why. UDN ranks local governments by female participation, and I find an interesting correlation, which I'll share with you. Finally, updates and analysis on the Han recall, which is shaping up to be an interesting race. Plus, you'll get my prediction on that. But of course, sign of the times, coronavirus updates. One new imported case of COVID-19 was reported in Taiwan on Monday. Taiwan's health authorities have approved the potential new coronavirus medication remdesivir for treatment of the disease. Though clinical testing is still being carried out, it is the drug that so far shows more promising results. Two Taiwanese research institutes said Monday that they are likely to have a rapid diagnostic test for the coronavirus ready for the market by the end of the year. The government plans to rank countries based on their COVID-19 risks to determine how to treat tourists and other travelers from those nations once Taiwan reopens its borders, but it is still working out the categories, a top health official told lawmakers. And finally, face masks are now available in convenience stores and can now be ordered online. The first reports on the government's stimulus vouchers only reference them being given to ROC citizens. Then, on May 31st, Focus Taiwan reported this. A stimulus voucher program set to be rolled out in January to boost consumption will be available to not only Taiwanese citizens, but also foreign nationals and Chinese spouses who hold residency permits in the country, a source familiar with the matter told CNA. Then, on June 2nd, it was reported that Premier Su Zhentang specified all 23 million Taiwanese citizens and 150,000 foreign and Chinese spouses who hold residency permits. That excludes all other ARC and APRC holders. Now, this is problematic because we are taxpayers, and in my case, I'm an employer. It's also odd that they singled out spouses from everyone else. Taiwan's Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, PMI, slid to a new low of 44.8 in May. That's not good, as anything under 50 indicates contraction. A total of 1,330 companies in Taiwan had put 26,323 employees on furlough as of Sunday. Meanwhile, the demand for workers in Taiwan is expected to rise by 21,100 between July and September from the previous quarter, the lowest level for the same period in 11 years, according to the results of a survey published Tuesday by the Ministry of Labor. Carrefour, the France-based hypermarket chain, announced on Tuesday that it is set to acquire Wellcome Taiwan Company Limited, which operates supermarket chains Wellcome and Hsin's marketplace in Taiwan. Carrefour said that it plans to switch out the signage at all Wellcome supermarkets in Taiwan within 1 year of the deal being finalized, and that the Hsin's marketplace stores will become, quote, high-end Carrefour supermarkets. Now, this is a shame, as Wellcome has been in Taiwan a long time, and this will likely reduce product choice. The government has had an embarrassing and potentially damaging leak of a government database of more than 20 million Taiwanese citizens on the dark web. The data is from the Ministry of the Interior's Department of Household Registration. The 3.5 gigabyte database lists the names, addresses, genders, dates of birth, and other private information of more than 20 million citizens. Now, if this includes ID numbers, there are quite a few nefarious things that could be done with this data, including identity theft. Network devices from several Chinese manufacturers are insecure and allow personal information to be leaked, testing commissioned by the Executive Yuan has shown. Now, of course, we have to wonder now if the Ministry of the Interior's Department of Household Registration was using some of those devices. However, a variety of devices and software, including apps from Chinese, U.S., and South Korean manufacturers that are used by government agencies at the central and local level, were subjected to black box testing. Both software and hardware devices from China showed problems, including smartphones, cameras, video cameras, routers, network switchers, and drones. Devices from other countries passed the tests. So, if you own a Chinese-made device and want to get rid of it, don't worry. You can donate them to the New Party or the Bamboo Union. Former National Immigration Agency Director General and Keelung mayoral candidate Xie Gong has left the KMT and joined the Taiwan People's Party. Xie, a member of the KMT for 40 years, announced on May 31st that he was quitting the party to serve as TPP Secretary General at the invitation of TPP Chair Ke Wen-je. Explaining why he decided to leave the KMT, Xie said, Taiwan needs a strong opposition to check and balance the ruling party so that it will be more humble and devise policies that better meet the people's needs. He acknowledged that the 101-year-old KMT faces problems and said he chose to switch to the TPP because it has less baggage holding it back. He also went on to say the opposition must be united and cooperating with the KMT is just one of the options, though he said this was just his personal opinion. Meanwhile, Taipei Mayor Hou Youyi, a prominent member of the KMT, expressed support for Xie Sunday. Ho told reporters that Xie was a good friend and colleague of his, and that as long as he continues to work for Taiwan, he fully supports his endeavors. Now, there are a few very interesting things to unpack here. First, this is a fairly high defection, though he did lose twice as KMT candidate for Keelung mayor. Note that he said Taiwan needs a strong opposition to check and balance the ruling party. In other words, he doesn't think the KMT is capable of being that party. He then goes on to say that the 101-year-old KMT faces problems and the TPP has less baggage holding it back. In other words, he's saying the KMT is screwed and can't reform itself, but the TPP doesn't have all the baggage holding it back. Now, it's not clear if he's referring to the KMT's party culture, Leninist structure, their disastrous financial liabilities, or more likely, all of those. Now, the TPP has gained members from the DPP, but more have defected from the Pan-Blue People's First Party and the KMT. It has also positioned itself as more pro-Taiwan than the KMT and essentially copied the mainstream positions on Taiwan's sovereignty that the DPP currently espouses. In short, the party seems to be turning into a light blue party shorn of all the KMT's China baggage. Now that the TPP has the third largest party caucus in the legislature and the mayorship of Taipei, they are a serious player. But to take off, they'll need to get more experienced heavyweights and form a clear, coherent party ideology. So I'll be watching very closely to see if they get more defectors from other parties. Ho's comments were also interesting and very much in character for him. Note, he put maintaining their relationship and friendship and service to the country above party. That attitude is one of the reasons why that Ho is so popular. It also leaves his options open. Local newspaper UDN has produced a report showing that the percentage of the cabinet, including vice mayors, that is female, for the big six metropolises. Mayor Hou Youyi's new Taipei City scored tops with 35.71%. Taoyuan was second at 25%, and Tainan was third with 19.23%. Gao Shou was fourth at 18.75%, and Taipei fifth at 17.24%. In spite of Mayor Liu Xiaoyan herself being a woman, her administration came last and a fairly far behind at 10.71%. Interestingly, leaving out Gao Shou, These rankings matched exactly the ranking given to each administration in a Global Views magazine poll released the other day. Now, that poll had to leave out Gao Shou due to the mandated blackout on polls in the run-up to the recall vote. And I mentioned the other day that when running an organization that represented the Western community in Taichung, that having a board with a diverse background meant that we had better outreach to various groups in the community and made better decisions. A government represents a much larger community, of course, but I suspect that holds true. That those rankings match the Global Views poll exactly doesn't prove anything, of course, but it wouldn't surprise me if this is a factor. Kaohsiung Mayor Han Kuo-yu will face the recall vote this Saturday on June 6th, nearly 18 months after he began his 4-year term at the end of December 2018. Han chose not to show up for a televised briefing ahead of a June 6th vote to recall him, and instead spent his time visiting vegetable farms devastated by recent torrential rains. In short, he threw away an opportunity to defend himself. According to Han's camp, they have a so-called 5 won't-dos list, which sounds way better in Chinese, of course. First, Han will not publicly address the issue of the recall. Second, they will not hold any anti-recall activities. Third, they will not hold any anti-recall rallies. Fourth, they will politely thank any friends from political circles that show up on June 6th and won't try to block them from coming. But kind of read between the lines, they're not exactly enthusiastically encouraging them. Fifth, on the day of the recall, Han will not issue any statements regarding the result. In related news, Han's legal challenge to the recall has been rejected by the High Court. The pro-recall side has been holding rallies, though from what I can see, they haven't been terribly well attended. Now, I spoke on the phone the other day at length with Eric Michael Smith, ICRT's Southern Taiwan correspondent and author of the excellent piece on Ketagalam Media I quoted from the other day. And it was a very interesting conversation. We have come to basically the same prediction for the result, myself in part influenced by his reflections on the mood in Kaohsiung, and I think him in part by something I posted about the numbers in a recent poll. For the recall to succeed, the majority of people voting yes has to be in the majority, and in total, the yes vote must exceed 25% of the electorate. I strongly recommend reading Eric's article, but the upshot of it was that the passion and fervor to recall Han that existed a few months ago has died down, and more people feel it's not worth the hassle and cost to go through another election when 2022 isn't that far away, and they can just vote him out then. Of course, there's still a strong block of people who will vote to remove him, mostly deep Greens. Now, with this in mind, the Han camp's 5 won't-dos list makes perfect sense. It's all about avoiding drawing attention to himself or to the recall. Instead, like he did when he skipped the televised briefing, he's concentrating on doing his job in an unshowy sort of way. So, no climbing up trees or dramatic displays, but lots of pictures of him looking at vegetables and drainage ditches. In short, they're trying to tamp down enthusiasm for voting him out. Both Eric and I think the vote will be close, probably in the mid-20s. Perhaps a bit less than the 25% needed, perhaps a bit more. I would be very surprised if the result was less than 20% or over 33%. All right, hit subscribe, hit the bell, hit like, hit something or other that helps us out here. And tune in tomorrow.
This has been brought to you by the Taiwan Report. For more content like this, become our patron at report.tw.
哎呦，就是那个台湾狗啦，最喜欢我的台湾狗了。